Dave Bronze here. Today we're going to be talking to one of my students who lost two of his fingertips in an industrial accident and thought he'd never play guitar again, and let alone play guitar again. He never thought he'd put an album out, and he's managed to do both those things. And he did so by joining my 1 year Guitar Adventurers course. So if you're a guitarist who's always had a dream of getting good on guitar or putting an album out and perhaps have never felt able to do that or haven't had the confidence, check out the interview with Alan. I think it'll really inspire you. And if you are interested in joining the course, there's a link for you to find out more. It's just 30 minutes and we're going to listen to some of his music, so sit back and enjoy. Today I'm interviewing Alan Kennedy. Alan Kennedy was one of my students on the first ever Guitar Adventurers course, and we're doing one of those kind of 1 year on, where are they now kind of things, a bit of a cross with that and Desert Island Disc, where we're going to listen to some of Alan's music that he's been putting out. Going to have a look at his album. We're just going to chat about music creation and Alan's journey. So strap in. We're going to be about half an hour, 40 minutes, just so you guys can see what goes on the Guitar Academy. How's it going, Alan?
Hi, Dave. It's going well. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to this interview. It's a good opportunity. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good stuff. Cool. So maybe we should just get a little bit of your background and then listen to a tune. So did you before joining the course, did you play a bit of guitar and keys already? What's your kind of background in coming to the course? What could you do?
Yeah. Right. Well, going right back, I'll say now, I'm retired now. I've just turned 70. So going back a long time, when I was just a young teenager and I started playing the guitar, I really I really loved guitar. I wanted to play guitar on stage, blah, blah, blah. But we just met with friends and learnt a few chords, didn't do any proper schooling in guitar and, 3 chord bash kind of stuff. And then a few years later, I went away to work on the rigs and couldn't really play guitar while I was away, so I didn't get into it too much. And then, but although I loved it, and then disaster struck when I worked away, and I really damaged my left hand. 2 fingers were severely damaged, and I thought that's the end of my guitar career. So I taught myself keyboards, and then eventually, after leaving the rigs, eventually a few years passed, and I joined a band playing keyboards. And then one night I just said to the bass player, "Can I have a shot of your bass?" Because I'd had tried guitars before and they just hurt too much. And so I found that the bass was all right. And that just inspired me to get back into guitars. So I fought through the pain and the agony, and then the realization that those 2 fingers were 1/4 of an inch shorter, which made life even more difficult. But I was determined, and I'm the kind of person that when I want to do something, I'll do it. Um, and then I bought myself a nice Taylor guitar when my mum passed away, and that got me back into guitars. And I had the motivation and the encouragement from my wife, and now I have a little fleet of guitars. I think I've got about 6 or 7 now, and keyboards all over the place. So that led on to write my own music. To be fair, I've written music from being a kid. I've written songs. When I was a kid, I used to write little ditties, and but in later years, I started to write some stuff that was quite meaningful, and I put it online. It wasn't very good. It wasn't recorded very well. It was terrible, but it had the basis of something which I thought was quite good. And then I joined another band where we played all the music that I'd written, and that was really great to hear other musicians joining in with that music and hearing it played live for the very first time. It was really, really good. Um, and then an email popped up from yourself. I'm looking for 15 guitarists. So to be honest, I kind of ignored it the first time because I thought, nah, that's beyond what I can do, because I'd already bought all of your albums up to that date, and I thought, no. Then I got a second email. I'm looking for 10 guitarists. So I thought, all right, you've recruited five. And I talked it over with my wife, and then we had the Zoom call, and then I joined the course. Um, and that was probably one of the best things in terms of music that I've done in my life, because it's made such a difference to what I do now.
Great, awesome. Well, we'll talk a little bit about some of the stuff you did on lead guitar and some of the stuff with your hands that we had to overcome. But let's
Mm.
jump in to listen to one of your compositions. So,
Oh,
going to listen to a composition called Wild Horses. Should we listen to it first and then you tell us something, or do you want to tell us something first? How should we do it?
I'll give you a little intro. Yes. I released an album last year, and we'll talk about that, I guess, how that came about. But the album is based on my love of Iceland and all the Nordic countries, the Scandinavian countries, um, Celtic Irish music. I should say that many years ago, I've always been into progressive music, progressive rock. But I also love Scottish, Irish, Celtic style music. And always thought, how the heck do you combine the two? And then I discovered your albums, and I thought, oh, that's how you do it. And I think that was a driver to going on the course and then producing the album. So the album is a story about a fantasy island that emerged from the northern seas, and it's called Maridin. And one of the tracks is called Wild Horses, and that's based on the wild horses up in the mountains in Iceland.
Awesome. Let's have a listen. So I'm just going to swap screen now.
Yeah.
This is on Bandcamp. If you want to check out Alan's stuff, this is Wild Horses. Let's have a listen. Oh, I'll tell you what. Let's just start it from the stuff at the beginning. Here we go. Oh man, seems a shame to stop the track, but that's great.
Yeah, the
So
drums
it's really nice hearing
come in
that.
a
I
bit
haven't heard
later.
it. Yeah, if you want to hear the rest, you're gonna have to go to Bandcamp and look up Alan Kennedy music. But yeah, so that's a beautiful track. I'd sort of forgotten about it really because I remember you working on that on the course. So there you had some acoustic guitar on there. You had choir sounds, some string type pad sounds. Then you had that really lovely guitar tone that you got there. So I remember us working a little bit on sort of your vibrato and stuff like that. So what was your journey like in terms of overcoming the difficulty that you had with your hand? How did that kind of happen?
Yeah. Well, I remember saying to you that I really just use my forefinger and middle finger. that was a damaged one, but it was quite strong. But the ring finger is quite weak. So I tended to play a little bit like Django Reinhardt with just two
Yeah.
finger. And you encouraged me to use all fingers, and I just battled through it and realized actually, when you want to do something strong enough, you really have the will to do it, you can overcome it. And I did that, and I do use all fingers on the left hand now. Um, and vibrato was something that I didn't really use in my previous music. So you taught me that, how to use it in the right way, um, not over heavy, not too light, just to get that technique right when it was needed. And bending notes was always a problem. But then, because I always seemed to catch the other strings, and it always sounded muddy and messy. But
Mm.
of course, again, with your techniques, I overcome that and can bend a note no problem now. Um, Bend it really well, actually. I think without any interference from other strings and feedback and all that kind of stuff that goes on.
Yeah, it's really, and the thing that is really, you know, joyful for me is like that's a great piece of music. It's great melody. The arrangement's great. Like when the bass comes in, the bass guitar, sort of for the new section, you get that lift. There's a real emotional content and purpose to the music, and your phrasing and the way you're playing that melody on guitar and the sound is all contributing to like this emotional connection with
Mm.
the listener, and which is what it's all about. So it's really really cool to be able to hear
Yeah.
that
But
track.
one other thing, Dave, you talk about the emotion of the music. What I found quite profound was the session we did on energies,
Mm.
and how we used can't remember the guy's name now, Laban energies.
Yeah, Laban's energy
Labor
shapes.
energies, and I thought that was
Yeah,
fascinating because that's to do with dance, and how you can use like little dabs and sweeps and all these, ring, all these kind of energies, and how you can just pull them all together and f- find how your music can expand and how it can do that and uplift and come down again. And we also likened it to looking at a mountain range, how the music can start, and it climbs and it dips and it peaks. And I
yeah,
quite often use that now. I'll be out taking photographs, and I've now bought a drone and I'm doing some drone photography, and I'm looking at mountain ranges, and I said to my wife not so long ago in the car, look at that. Da, 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 da. I could see a melody just by look, and I never ever thought about that kind of influence before I
yeah.
did the course. Just wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool because obviously we've talked a bit about technique. You need solid technique and you need solid theory to be able to
Yeah.
really execute your musical ideas. But in addition, you need these abstract things as well, where music is about the feeling and we. So one of the challenges for me as a teacher was like, how do I take some of these concepts that I use so that you can just get off the page, do you know what I mean, and get out of the boxes and the numbers and actually make music. So, well, I'm glad that you enjoyed that one. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, should we listen to another track? Which one should we listen to now?
Uh, Power and the Glory.
Power and the Glory. Tell us a little bit about this one.
Yeah. So this came as part of the Maradon album. The concept being around Iceland, um, as an original idea, and the Power and the Glory is about the power of the island of Maradon, the power of Iceland. The thermal energy and everything that's going on underneath the ground. And it's so strong and evil and glorious. But then it kind of bursts from the land, from the mountainsides, geysers, lava flows, and it's spectacular when it hits the air. And that's the power and then the glory that it produces. And when I was thinking about that, I was thinking this track has to have power and energy at the beginning, and then it has to go into something else which is quite light and airy and a bit nice rather than grungy. And so I used synth sounds for that. So not guitar all the way through, just to give the track a bit of contrast between power and glory.
All right, great. Let's go and have a listen to that one. Awesome. I love it. So you got drums on that one. So did you program the drums for that as well?
I did, yeah. I had thought about using a live drummer, and then I had to consider cost. Being a first album, I didn't want to be spending a lot of money in case I lost a lot of money. But um, again, it was something we did on the course when we talked about rhythm. And we had a friend of yours who came on and did a whole session on rhythm and drums. And I think we also did a session on programming drums as well. And I got a lot of help from Paul, who was another student on the course. And I've really enjoyed actually programming drums. It's not an instrument that I play, but to be honest, I would quite like to get myself a little electronic kit and maybe learn that as well. But yeah, I really do enjoy programming drums. I know it's quite not the same as live, but you can get them, almost there. I've started now listening to a lot of drummers, just a lot of tracks, and I'm focusing on the drums to listen to what the drummer's actually doing, and trying to get my programmed drums as near as possible.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I knew it was going to be important for people sort of producing their own music to understand how to program their own drums and not
Yeah,
just, because obviously you can drag drum loops in, which is great, and we did a bit on that as well.
yeah,
But knowing how to make your own drum beats helps you do things that are in slightly more interesting and in odd time
absolutely.
signatures and things like that, which if you're using sort of a garage band or loops, that's not so easy to do. Yeah,
No.
another great, really great and evocative track. So, could you have done like what's the difference between what you did on the album, what you could do before? Like how do you feel you progressed and got the confidence? What were the key factors, or were there any?
There's a lot of key factors. I guess before the course, the music that I wanted to produce um, wasn't coming out. I was producing something else that I thought was this is all right. It's middle of the road soft rock stuff, 3-4 chords. Typical pattern. Verse, chorus, middle eight. Bit of guitar solo with no bends, no vibrato, and a bit bland really. And I didn't know how to record them properly. So following the course. Well, as you know, I used to submit quite a lot of homework, as we called it. Um, I got so much from that in terms of new ideas like chromatic medians. When we did that, what is a chromatic median? I mean, I had no knowledge of music at all, really. I thought I did. Then I realized I didn't know much at all. So chromatic medians, for example, just gave my music a whole new feel when I needed that change in emphasis in the track. That technique was just superb. The way we just changed the chord by using two notes in a different direction. I thought that was groundbreaking. Um, and there were many other things like whole tones. So in The Witch of Vico, which we're going to hear, I use whole tones in that. And I guess a lot of musicians probably might not notice that, but without that knowledge, I would never have been able to do that run up in The Witch of Vico. It would never have happened.
So the whole tone scale, yeah?
The whole
Yeah.
tone scale, yeah, and also Cascade Licks was another one. Never in a month of Sundays would I've known about that. And again, that comes into the fourth track, Aurora. It just changes. It's changed the way that I approach music, the way that I produce it now, the way I think about it now. Um, and when I'm playing bass lines, even that has changed, where I used to just play the root note because that's all I knew what I knew how to do. Now I play the third note, the fifth, whatever, and it just gives the bass lines much more a lively feel to the tracks rather than just boom, boom, boom. Um, so these are just a few examples of what I got from the course. There are many, many others. I could talk all day about the stuff I learned on the course. It's been a
Yeah.
revelation.
Your,
Yeah,
your enthusiasm definitely coming across. Well, let's have a listen to The Witch of Vickholm then, and
yeah,
some of that whole tone scale goodness. So let's swap over and
yeah.
have a look at this. Track 5. Here we go. Awesome, awesome. We'll leave it there. Cool. Ace, yeah, I mean, when I listen to that music, it doesn't sound like music like sort of a student homework music. It's fully formed stuff that wouldn't be out of place on a sort of Pink Floyd album, that, or maybe on some kind of computer game soundtrack type thing. So yeah, really well done on that one. So yeah, so you've got a CD out. It's on Bandcamp. What was it like? Kind of, did you ever think you'd make a CD when you were starting out on the program?
Never, that was never an intention. It's always been, like every musician. Everybody wants to produce an album, but it's something that you think, oh well, it's just pie in the sky. Really, I'll never do that. And I remember when I met up with you once, and we were having a curry, and famous Bradford curry, and you said to me, "Are you going to bring an album out?" And I said, "Never really thought about it, you know." And you said, "I think you should." Oh, really? And I kind that lit a candle, you know, and the candle grew bigger, and I thought more and more about that, and I thought, can I really do this? Well, I'll never know unless I just do it. You know, you've everything's impossible until you achieve it. You know, that's what a motto that I love. You know, and so I thought, let's go for it. So I worked really hard on that, with a lot of help from people like yourself, from Paul Dobson. I've got to give Paul a shout out, a fellow musician and album producer. Um, and it was difficult because there were so many things I didn't know about how to produce a CD. I didn't know how to put all the tracks together, how to make sure that the volumes were all the same, you know, for production. I didn't know who produced CDs. I didn't know about artwork, and I just went into it head on. I set myself a date, a target date of June the 8th, when I would have been 70. I missed that, but I made August the 4th, which was the date that the album came out. But it was a real steep learning curve. Um, but I don't think anybody should shy away from the idea of going down that route, because it's so enjoyable. So the hard work element, you know, wasn't really there. Because when you enjoy something so much, it's never hard work. It's all just good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure people watching this who perhaps play a bit of guitar and stuff will be really inspired that you've managed to pull all these skills, not just the guitar playing, but the arranging, the drums, the keyboards, and all that, and then to pull that into a full 10-track album is, you know, from having never done it before, is really impressive. A lot of really capable musicians that I know still haven't got an album out.
Mm.
So so you've
Yeah.
achieved something really fantastic there, and it's good as well. It's not like you just thrown it together. It's really good music. So yeah, well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Cool. So should we listen to our last track, Aurora, Goddess of Light?
Yeah, yeah. You might want to start a little bit in, because there's a
Okay.
long kind of drawny. I mean, when someone's sitting listening to this, you can't miss out the beginning, because it
Yeah.
leads you into it. But you know, just for the purpose of this exercise,
Should I
just
scroll like a minute in, maybe? About a minute in?
uh, maybe 30 seconds in.
All right, okay,
Yeah.
here we go. So 20, 30 seconds in. Let's Aurora, Goddess of Light, here we go. Good stuff. Good stuff. Lovely. Very, very Dave Gilmore that. Love it. So ambient. You could easily put that on whilst you're reading, or just have it on, just like kind of filling out the background. That's one of the things I love about music without lyrics, is that it's great for when you're doing other things, especially when you're reading and you haven't got lyrics putting words in your head whilst you're
Yeah,
trying to read them off the page.
yeah.
So yeah, so your album definitely one I've put on for reading stuff. Reading, and I'm usually reading some Tolkien and stuff like that, bit of
Oh,
sci-fi.
great, thanks.
So yeah, cool. Well, thanks for chatting to us, Alan, and sharing your journey. I know people are going to be really inspired by what you've achieved and how far you've travelled. So, have you got any last thoughts of? Well, tell us first of all where we can get your album.
Well, it's on Bandcamp, so Alan Kennedy
I
bandcamp.com,
think
is
it's
it?
the way it's alankennedy.bandcamp.com.
Bandcamp.com, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. You can get it there, yeah. It's only £12.50. The digital downloads, I think, are a tenner, but for the extra 2.50, you can have the CD as well, and as many digital downloads as you want. So I think hopefully it's a bargain.
Yeah, absolutely is. Yeah, get over to Bandcamp.
And
Cool. And any closing thoughts? Anything else you want to say?
yeah, just that apart from doing my own thing now, I also joined a choir last year, and just inspired by everything that I've been doing. Got more into singing now. Um, I wrote a traditional Christmas song for the choir, which is also on Bandcamp. On I can't remember the link for that one though.
I'll put it in the
You put
below.
it in, yeah. Which is selling quite well. It's gone down a storm actually. Um, and I'm working now on the second album. And one of my friends who is a big fan of my music, his daughter is a fabulous singer. She's enthusiastically agreed to come and sing on some of the new tracks.
Great.
And I've got some of the choir members as well who are very, very good singers who want to be involved in some of the back end singing. So,
So when
it's
can we expect album number two then?
oh I don't know, maybe 18 months, something like
Ah, good stuff.
that.
Well, it's really brilliant that you're still inspired to put new music out and you've taken
Oh
this
yes.
different direction, going from
Yeah.
instrumental to putting some singing on. That's great.
Yeah.
Never stand still.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thanks so much for your time, Alan. Anyone listening, you're interested in joining the guitar adventures, just go to davebronze.com, and I'll just put the link on the screen, and you can fill in a little form to find out more. And I'm recruiting basically in the next 2 weeks is the deadline. So if you're interested in joining, make sure you do it today, not tomorrow, because I'm just looking for. I've only got 7 more places left, so I've already filled a few of them.
Yeah.
So
I would encourage anybody who's got an inkling to produce better music and with an idea of producing an album, definitely do your course, Dave. It's been a game changer for me, really has. Yeah.
awesome, ace. All right, cheers, Alan.
Thank you. Speak to you soon, Dave.